He is ESPN's Tom Luginbill. At Tom Luginbill on Twitter is where you follow him. He is with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. What is up, Loogs? How are you?
I'm good, guys. It's been a bit. I figured, I don't know how many times you're going to let Lance quit before you just replace him. I mean, the guy just doesn't show up to work anymore.
No, he's here.
Oh, he's here.
He's just eating lunch right now. He'll be in a sec.
Did he skip
does he realize that he's a host of a live show? We just give him
we often wonder that. We often wonder that, Loogs.
Hey, you guys just take this segment. It's good. I don't need to be a part of this.
Oh, here he is, Loogs. He's back. He's back.
His ears were burning, see?
I know. He didn't want you talking bad about him, so he's back. Luginbill giving you grief for missing the start of the segment.
Yeah, it happens. It happens, Loogs.
What was on the menu, brother?
I actually have, I'm eating some salami for lunch and some Gouda cheese. And in break, I just had a bunch of salami stuck in my teeth, so I had to go knock it out. Yeah, if we're being transparent here.
Yeah, that's transparency. I like it.
That's pretty good.
We'll get to some viewing options with Luginbill in just a little bit. You guys love it when we do that. I do want to start with Payton Thorne. We've had you on since Tyler Buckner made his commitment to come to Alabama. I don't think we've gotten your thoughts on Payton Thorne to Auburn. Payton Thorne does what for the Auburn Tigers in your mind?
Brings experience, in-game experience of having started a lot of games. I've had 2 of his games in the last couple of years, and I came away kind of feeling like this guy is a very steady, consistent guy. It wasn't wowed or blown away by any, particular physical attributes. But I think with the whole thing with the transfer portal, particularly with quarterbacks, it's all relative to have you actually played, right? Do you have significant snaps? And now that might be becoming a little bit more important than, having an ideal skill set or being this elite guy that's not, because quite honestly, if you are that guy and you're playing, you're probably starting and you're not in the transfer portal anyway, right? So I think it's all relative to that to some degree. And if you're fishing in the portal and you need help at quarterback, are you better off taking a guy that's been at a program for a year and a half, or 2 years that hasn't played, or sticking with the high school ranks? Or if you can find a guy that's played significant snaps, you're going to take that guy. And I think that sometimes trumps what the overall ability level is. Not saying he doesn't have ability, all right, but it's one of those things where playing is really important when you're fishing in the portal for a quarterback.
Well, with Kenneth Walker, Luke, he had a really good year in 2021, took a little bit of a dip last year. He just doesn't seem like a Hugh Freeze quarterback. And, my question to you would be, why would a guy like Spencer Sanders go to a loaded quarterback room in Oxford when he could have gone to Auburn? And I would assume Spencer Sanders in that system would be a much better fit.
Yeah, I think we actually talked about that on this program back when he entered, and I'm sitting there going, "Oh, okay, let's find the skill set and the marriage of the offense." And man, you're sitting there and you're looking at Spencer Sanders and you're looking at Auburn, and it didn't happen. And you're right, with Robbie Ashford, from a athletic perspective, and when you look at the history of the offense, whether it's been Gus Malzahn, whether it's been Hugh Freeze. There is, I think, some common denominators that the offense is far more effective when the quarterback's a dynamic athlete. And Robbie Ashford is that. So I think what Hugh Freeze, and not to speak for him, but in his mind, he's sitting there saying, okay, we've got a number one, play the position better. And if this guy has got enough on tape to show us that he's capable of consistently performing, and Robbie Ashford maybe is still not developing to the rate they need him to, let's just say in the passing game, then we've got to have the best possible options in that room no matter what. And I think it comes down to something that's that simple.
I know there was a lot of discussion at the ACC meetings about several programs not happy with the TV deal and everything. Do you, if you were a betting man, do you think the ACC is together for the long run? Because I do. I think it's important to have a multiple conferences still out there, and I think the ACC is important enough to hold those schools together. Do you think the ACC is still a conference 5 years, 10 years from now with the same teams basically that they have right now?
I don't, but I don't disagree with your assessment. I do think that there's worth to the ACC. You have some marquee programs, marquee names. You have some major brands. Basketball's killer, right? And But I think we're in this landscape right now, guys, where when you see SC and UCLA go to the Big Ten, I mean, we are in survival mode. These teams are scrambling right now to figure out, how do we not get left behind? If this thing starts to separate from a gap perspective of conference alignment, how do we make sure we're on the right side of that thing? And the revenue that comes in from television is a big deal. Let's call it what it is, because it impacts your entire program. And I just think, whether it's a Clemson, a Miami, or a Florida State, or whoever, I think both of the Virginia schools were mentioned, as well as NC State, and I think North Carolina. Everybody's looking at dollars and cents, and they're also looking at staying with the haves and not falling into the have-nots, which could eventually happen if we keep separating these, especially with NIL and the transfer portal and how that's changing the landscape. But I wouldn't want to see that, but I'm afraid I think eventually we'll see some changes there.
Could that impact, say, the future of coaching decisions like Mike Norvell? Florida State, in my lifetime, has always been, a job you sort of wanted. But could you leave a place like Florida State in a conference you don't know what its future is going to be, you don't know where Florida State's going to be, to take an SEC or a Big Ten job?
Absolutely. And I think a lot with that job in particular too, and it's been very public. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn here, but they've had some internal struggles and some internal tug of wars on, having the conversation. What do we want to be? We're Florida State. We are a brand. We are iconic. But are we operating like Alabama? The answer is no. All right. Are we operating like LSU? The answer is no. So, yeah, I think that's fair. And I think Jimbo Fisher do that for that very reason. But I do think since Mike Norvell arrived and stabilized, and now they're on an upward trend, I do think they've gotten some things ironed out to where some of their resources now are at least competitive in where they need to be with the teams that they're expected to beat on the field.
ESPN's Tom Luginbill with us. We'll talk some movies and shows just 1 second from now. He is on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline, at Tom Luginbill on Twitter. A random game we were discussing yesterday, Luginbill. We were 100 days out from college football yesterday. We were talking about a lot of different games.
Yeah, I only wanted to come on 99 days.
That's right.
College football.
Luginbill's a double-digit guy.
That's why I turned you down.
Double-digit guy, Luginbill is. Week 2, Oregon is at Texas Tech. And I find that to be a fascinating game. I like what Joey McGuire is building at Texas Tech. That is, and I don't know, it's just randomly, it seems like AT&T Jones Stadium in Lubbock can be a tough place to play on the road. That's a tricky spot. That's a tricky spot for Oregon.
Yeah, it's tricky. It's tough to get there. It is loud. They are rambunctious. That place will be packed out. It is tricky. When I say it is tricky, but Oregon knows who their quarterback is, and I still don't think we can depend on who Texas Tech's quarterback is going to be just yet. And, especially with Tyler Shuck, who was formerly at Oregon, he cannot stay healthy. He can't stay on the field. He's shown some flashes here and there. That would be the one thing that would concern me. If I knew that Texas Tech's quarterback position was solidified, then I would feel much better about that game for the home team. But that doesn't mean that it's not going to be a great football game, because I do think, and you guys have heard me say this before, who you play, when you play, and where you play, right? And all three of those areas can mean something different at a different time of the season. And I always point to Ohio State in 2014 as that example, right? You get beat up in week 2 against Virginia Tech, and then all of a sudden you're an entirely different team playing Michigan at home at the end of the year, and you make it into the college football playoffs. The teams are different in environments and where you play and how you play them. And I think that could kind of fall into this discussion with Oregon and Texas Tech.
Same day as Oregon going to Lubbock, you've also got Texas coming to Tuscaloosa to take on Alabama. 6 o'clock, your network, ESPN. Is it a slam dunk to say that game, Texas will by far have the better quarterback?
I think it's fair to say that. I don't want to follow that with a but I'm going to, because I think one of the concerns for me with Quinn Ewers is if he continues to be up and down, up and down, up and down, then they're going to struggle to have the type of consistency that their personnel should tell you that they should have. And I think my biggest concern with Quinn Ewers is, yes, he's talented. He's very talented. But I'm a big body language guy. And when things don't look good, he don't look good. And I think that's part of a leadership trait that he's got to get himself out of. Because when everything's going well and he's kind of got that nonchalant attitude and he's flipping the ball around, boom, 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 making it look easy, that's great. Because now you sit there and say, oh, my God, it's so effortless. Look, it looks like he doesn't even care. But then when things are going bad, that same look can look very bad.
Yeah, it was
And
almost
I think
like
that's got to get corrected.
almost like Bo Nix at Auburn when he would have his inconsistencies.
Very much so.
And then you saw Bo this year with the confidence, and the body language was completely different.
Completely different, man. And I think that can come from age. It can come from maturity. With Jay Cutler, it never came at all. But I think that it is something as a young player that you've got to be able to work through from a leadership standpoint.
Does Raiola end up at Georgia, or is that still a recruiting battle that's ongoing? And if he does end up at Georgia, when does Kirby start losing any of these quarterbacks? Do you expect that to happen?
Immediately. I think he's going to lose one once they name the starter this summer. It's just the nature of the business now. It's almost impossible to keep 2 scholarship quarterbacks on the roster at one time, let alone 3. You used to be able to keep 4. And everybody kind of knew they came in and they redshirted and they fought and they battled and they may become the starter. And of the guys that they've got right now, I do think Raiola not only sticks, but I think he's the most talented of the group that they currently have right now. So somebody winning the job with the addition of Raiola, he's not going to be able to keep them all. And they know that. I mean, and every program in America knows that. That's what's so fascinating about Ole Miss right now. I mean, that Ole Miss thing is mind-boggling to me, how they're pulling that off.
All right, he is ESPN's Tom Luginbill. Let's get to the viewing menu portion of the show. I think even Rockstar has a question. You want to go first, Rockstar?
Yeah, have you seen – well, first of all, do you know the story Killers of the Flower Moon?
I am familiar with it, and I just saw the trailer for it.
Okay, the trailer, it is I think they said it's a 3.5-hour movie. It's a Scorsese, Leonardo DiCaprio,
4-hour movie.
Brendan Fraser.
Movie.
Oh, I'm completely pumped about it. I haven't seen the trailer yet. I've just read a lot of things about it.
The book was amazing. It's super depressing and sad and everything. I don't like DiCaprio. The one thing, he's a great actor. The guy cannot do an accent. That's just one thing. That's my one complaint about it, and I think you'll get used to it.
You didn't think he did a South African accent in Blood Diamond?
No, awful.
I thought really his Boston accent in The Departed was really good.
But when it is a foreign accent, it's rough. So he's trying to do the southern southern boy kind of thing.
Boston accent's foreign to us.
Oh yeah, it's true. But I was saying if you had any interest in that, because it's Scorsese's going for these long movies. It's only going to be on Apple Plus, so that's concerning to me because I don't have it.
Hey, did you ever see? Did you ever see on Hulu Prey? I ran across it the other day. It's the prequel to Predator, and I thought it was well done. I watched it the other night.
With the woman, right?
Yeah.
That looks like Aubrey Plaza.
It's really, really good.
She does
look
look
really
like
good.
Aubrey.
I'll tell you a show that I came upon just because I kept hearing it was getting good reviews, but I couldn't grasp why it seemed to be so good. The Bear. Have you watched that?
Yeah, I tried. I watched like 3 or 4 episodes, and I think for people in that industry, I didn't stick with it. I thought it was good, but not great.
How about Blackbird?
I watched 3 or 4 episodes of that. I hear it's awesome, but
it is awesome.
Yeah, I don't know.
What is Blackbird?
Work on your attention span.
What is Blackbird?
Guy goes to prison.
Blackbird's just
Yeah,
go ahead, Lance.
Well, the guy goes to prison. The kid that played Elton John also played in The Kingsman. Taron
Egerton. Yeah.
And he goes in and he's got to try to, and tell me if I'm wrong, get an admission of guilt from a serial killer.
Yeah. That's his ticket out. Yeah. I thought it was really, really good. I finished it up. I loved it.
I don't know if you're watching Succession. There's only 2 episodes left, but Succession is in the conversation for greatest television show of all time.
You think so?
I do.
See, I haven't gotten into season 3 at all yet. I haven't. The XFL's got me so backed up, and so I hadn't. There's so many things I'm behind on. I'll tell you one movie though that I loved, The Covenant, with Jake Gyllenhaal. Guy Ritchie directed it. It's a Middle East like Afghan war deal where Jake Gyllenhaal is a master sergeant of a unit, and he has to rely upon an Afghani translator. And it's that tug of war back and forth on whether you can trust them or not. It's a great story.
Yeah, and the Saudi guy has got his ulterior motives, right?
Well, he may or he may not. That's the thing that's unbelievable about it.
Yeah, I like Gyllenhaal and I like Guy Ritchie a lot.
Yeah, you'll like that one. You got to check that one out for sure.
One more is, I brought this up the other day. I don't know if you've seen this, but Al Pacino, Viggo Mortensen, John Travolta, Shia LaBeouf, and Courtney Love, of all people. I don't know what they're doing with her.
I know. I saw that.
Have you seen this, where basically they're going to show the JFK assassination from the vantage point of the mafia?
Yeah. How crazy is that, right?
It's wild.
You know who's directing that?
No.
Who would Courtney Love be playing?
I don't know.
I thought she was great.
Jackie O, man.
People versus Larry Flint. I mean, as Athena Flint, she was
Althea.
incredible.
Althea.
Dirty
Hey,
Jackie O.
I will say this. That the newest trailer for the first part of the last Mission Impossible came out the other day. Dude, that guy's insane,
Yeah,
man.
what's the
Tom
stunt
Cruise.
this time? I mean, I don't think he can beat some of his other stunts.
He jumps.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
The motorcycle.
The
I did see it.
motorcycle.
I did see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And apparently in part 2, they say they got one that's going to make that look like child's play.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you guys need to check that out. I don't know if you've seen it.
Oh, I've seen the motorcycle jump, yeah.
Yeah.
What about Barbie?
And by the way, he did
have
it
you seen
6
Barbie,
times.
the movie Barbie? Have you seen it?
Not out yet.
I don't even think it's come out yet, but I don't know if it's going to be on my roster.
Dunaway's
Although Margot Robbie could make you watch any of it.
Yeah.
that's
I don't
true.
know what it is.
Yeah, it's true. All right, he is ESPN's Tom Luginbill. Great with movies, great with shows, great with football, and it's always fun to talk with him at Tom Luginbill on Twitter. Have a great weekend, Lugs.
You too, guys.
All right, buddy. Tom Luginbill with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline.
Hey, really appreciate you guys listening to the Next Round 9 to 1 live every single day. Of course, you can consume us on demand. Very important that you like and subscribe, though. The entire Next Round family wants to tell you, give us a thumbs up, like and subscribe.